All right, ready to unlock some serious savings.
Sounds good to me.
Today, we're diving deep into Irish tax rebates, specifically for PAYE employees.
Yeah, it's a topic a lot of people want to know more about.
You know, that feeling of handing over too much of your paycheck to the taxman.
Oh, I know that feeling all too well.
Well, it turns out a lot of pay workers in Ireland are overpaying. And we're not talking about a few euros here and there.
No, not at all. We're talking potentially hundreds, even thousands of euros just sitting there unclaimed.
Thousands. Okay, now I'm really listening. Why is this happening? Is the Irish tax system just too complex?
It's definitely part of it. The system is comprehensive, but yeah, it can be pretty intricate too. But honestly, I think the bigger problem is that most people just aren't aware of all the tax credits, reliefs, and deductions they're eligible for.
So it's not that the system is rigged against us. It's more like we're missing out on opportunities because we don't know they exist.
Exactly. It's like having a treasure map, but not bothering to look for the X that marks the spot.
I love that analogy. Okay, so let's start with the basics. What exactly are tax credits, and how do they work here in Ireland? You know, sometimes the tax jargon just goes right over my head.
No worries, I get it. Think of tax credits like direct discounts on your final tax bill. Imagine you're at the shop and you have a voucher that knocks off a certain amount from your purchase. Tax credits work in a similar way. They directly reduce the amount of tax you owe.
Okay, that makes sense. So let's say my total tax bill is, for example, $5,000 and I have $2,000 in tax credits. That means I would only actually have to pay $3,000 an hour.
Exactly. You got it. It's like having a secret weapon against the tax man.
I like the sound of that. But now it's getting a little confusing. Some tax credits are automatic, right?
Right. Some of them the revenue commissioners just take care of for you. If you're employed, you automatically get the PAYE tax credit, for instance.
So that's one less thing to worry about. But what about the other tax credits? Do I need to, jump through hoops to claim them?
Some of them, yeah. That's where it can get a bit tricky. You really need to be proactive and understand which credits you qualify for and how to claim them. And trust me, there are a lot to keep track of.
Okay. Yeah, this is starting to feel a little overwhelming. Is there anything that can simplify this process?
Absolutely. This is where a good tax rebate service can be a real game changer. You know, like DublinLedgers.
DublinLedgers, yeah. I've heard of them.
They specialize in helping payee employees navigate the whole system.
And they make it hassle-free, right?
Exactly. They even offer a free tax rebate review so you can see what you might be owed with no obligation.
Wait, so no risk involved?
None at all. And they have a no rebate, no fee policy, so you only pay if they actually get you a refund.
That sounds like a pretty good deal. So they handle all the paperwork, too.
All of it. They take care of everything, and you just sit back and wait for your refund.
Think of them like your personal tax-saving superheroes.
I like it.
Okay, so we know tax credits are good. Let's talk about some of the most common ones that every PAYE employee should know about.
All right, perfect. First up is the personal tax credit. Everyone in Ireland who's liable to pay income tax gets this one. It's worth about €2,000.
So everyone, no matter their income or job, gets that.
That's right. Everyone.
Pretty straightforward. Okay, what else?
Then there's the PAYE tax credit, which is specifically for employed people. Like the personal tax credit, it's also worth about €2,000.
Okay, so if you're working, you essentially get a double discount right off the bat.
Exactly.
Cool. What about for married couples or civil partnerships?
Well, there's the married civil partner tax credit. It's worth about €4,000 for couples who file their taxes together.
Okay, so that's a significant saving. Any other credits for families?
Yes. If one partner in a married couple or civil partnership stays home to care for a dependent, they might be eligible for the home care tax credit.
And how much is that worth?
Up to €1,950, so that can be a real help for families with a stay-at-home parent.
Wow, that's a pretty good amount. It seems like there's some solid support for families in the Irish tax system.
Yeah, definitely. And these are just a few of the many tax credits available to PAYE employees in Ireland.
Okay, so we've covered some basic tax credits, but I'm curious about those hidden rebates you mentioned earlier, the ones that most people don't even know they're missing out on.
Ah, yes. Those are the real game changers. And that's where a company like DublinLedgers really shines. They have a knack for uncovering those hidden gems and making sure you get every euro back.
Now you've got me really interested. Let's talk about some of those hidden rebates and see what treasures we can find.
Great. Let's start with the medical expenses tax relief. Did you know that you can claim 20% back on most medical expenses that your private health insurance, if you have it, didn't cover.
Wait, really? So all those trips to the GP, dentist appointments, even those pricey prescriptions could actually help lower my tax bill?
Exactly. It's like getting a little cashback reward for taking care of your health.
Okay, I'm definitely seeing how important it is to understand all these different tax credits and reliefs. It's like a whole world of potential savings.
It really is. And even if you're not sure if you qualify for something, it's always worth reaching out to DublinLedgers for a free review. They can assess your situation and tell you what's best.
That's a good point. A lot of people might be hesitant to seek professional help because they assume it'll cost a lot, but a free review takes away that worry.
You got it. It's a no-pressure way to see what's possible.
Okay, so we've got medical expenses covered. What other hidden rebates should we be looking for?
Let's talk about the rent tax credit. It's relatively new and can make a huge difference for renters in Ireland.
Oh yeah, I've heard a bit about this one. Didn't they increase it recently?
They did. It's now worth up to €2,000 for couples who file jointly.
Wow, that's a lot. It could really help with those rent payments.
Definitely. It just goes to show how staying informed about tax credits and reliefs can really pay off.
I feel like a tax detective uncovering all these secrets.
I love that. And we've only just scratched the surface.
Can't wait to hear more.
So much more to uncover.
All right, before we got cut off, we were talking about some of those easy-to-miss tax credits. You mentioned the rent tax credit and relief for medical expenses. What else should we know about?
Okay, well, there's the dependent relative tax credit.
Dependent relative.
Yeah, it can be really helpful for anyone who's financially supporting a relative.
Hold on, you mean I could actually get tax relief for helping out a family member?
Exactly, whether they live here in Ireland or abroad.
Seriously? I had no idea, even if they live in another country.
That's right, and the rate for this credit actually went up recently.
Oh, wow. To how much?
It's $305 now.
That's pretty good. It's nice to know the Irish tax system recognizes how important it is to support your family. What about for single parents? Are there any specific credits for them?
Definitely. There's the single-parent child care credit. It's a great resource if you're raising kids on your own.
How much is that one worth?
It's worth almost €1,900 each year. And in some cases, single parents might also be able to get a lower tax rate on some of their income.
That's really good to hear. It's great that there are credits specifically designed to help those who need them most.
Absolutely. And speaking of support, let's shift gears a bit and talk about remote working.
Oh, yeah. So many people are working from home these days.
Exactly. And there are some great tax relief opportunities for remote workers that people might not be aware of.
Like what? What kind of relief are we talking about?
Well, one of the biggest ones is the remote working tax relief. This allows you to claim deductions for things like electricity, heating, and broadband, expenses from working at home.
Wait, hold on. So if I'm working from my home office, I can deduct some of my household bills from my taxes.
Yep, you got it. There are actually two ways to claim this relief. You can either go with the flat rate, which is €3.20 for every day you work remotely.
Yeah, it's tax-free, right?
Totally tax-free. Or you can claim a percentage of your actual utility bills and broadband costs, the portion that's specifically related to your work.
Okay, so there's some flexibility there. That's great. But I'm guessing it's super important to keep track of all those expenses, like receipts and stuff.
Absolutely. Good record keeping is essential when it comes to taxes. You want to be able to back up your claims if needed.
Right, of course. That can be a bit of a pain, keeping all those receipts organized.
Well, that's another area where DublinLedgers can really help. They can make sure you stay on top of everything and don't miss out on any potential savings.
Starting to think DublinLedgers is the answer to all my tax problems.
They're pretty good.
So we've talked about tax credits for families, single parents, remote workers. What else should pay employees be looking into to save even more?
Let's talk about work-related expenses. Even if you're not working remotely, there might be some things you can claim.
Okay, like what?
Well, for example, did you know that if you have to wear a uniform for work and your employer doesn't pay for it, you might be able to get tax relief on those expenses?
What? Even things like buying work uniforms and washing them can be tax deductible.
It's true. We have something here called the Flat Rate Expenses Scheme.
Flat Rate Expenses Scheme, okay.
It covers lots of different professions. Basically, depending on your job, you can claim specific flat rate deductions for uniform costs, laundry expenses, things like that.
So it's not just about big expenses like medical bills and rent. Even the small things can add up.
You got it. Every euro counts. And once again, if you're not sure about something, DublinLedgers can walk you through it all.
They seem to have all the answers.
They really do take the hassle out of it.
All right, now let's move on to something a little more, well, maybe a bit daunting for some people. Pensions.
Pensions, yeah, lots of people don't like to think about them.
I know, right? Forms, retirement plans, it all seems so complicated. But how do pensions relate to our tax rebate conversation?
Well, that's where things get interesting. Contributing to a pension scheme here in Ireland isn't just about planning for the future, it's also about saving money on your taxes right now.
Okay, now I'm listening. How exactly can pensions lower my tax bill?
It all comes down to something called pension tax relief. This allows you to deduct the amount you put into your pension from your taxable income.
I see. So the more I contribute to my pension, the less income I'm taxed on.
Right. And here's the best part. The relief is applied at your highest marginal tax rate, so you actually save even more.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. So you're saving for retirement and reducing your taxes at the same time.
Exactly. It's a smart move that many PAYE employees miss out on. There are different kinds of pension schemes available, so it's worth looking into which one suits your needs.
Okay, so how much can I actually contribute to a pension and still get the tax relief? Are there limits?
Yes, there are contribution limits based on your age. It determines what portion of your earnings qualifies for the relief. If you're under 30, you can claim relief on up to 15% of your net earnings.
So the younger you are, the lower the percentage. Does that mean it's better to wait until you're older to start contributing?
Not necessarily. The sooner you start, the better. Your savings have more time to grow. And the percentage you can contribute actually goes up as you get older. By the time you hit 60, it's up to 40%.
Okay, so there's a sweet spot where you're earning more and can contribute more.
Exactly. And don't forget to see if your employer offers any matching contributions.
Matching contributions, what does that mean?
It means your employer will add money to your pension based on how much you contribute.
So that's basically free money.
Pretty much. It's like getting a bonus just for saving for retirement.
Wow, that's incredible. It seems like pensions are a great way to save for the future and lower your taxes at the same time.
Definitely. And as always, if you're feeling a bit lost with all the pension stuff, DublinLedgers can help you out. They can explain your options, help you choose the right scheme, and make sure you're getting the most out of your tax relief.
DublinLedgers really does seem like the go-to solution for anyone who's confused about Irish taxes.
They are the experts, and
Yeah.
they're really good at explaining things clearly.
Okay, before we move on, let's just recap what we've covered so far. We talked about tax credits, including the personal tax credit, the PAYE tax credit, the married civil partner tax credit, the home carer tax credit.
Right? And the dependent relative tax credit and the single parent child care credit.
Exactly. And then we got into some often overlooked tax relief opportunities, like the medical expenses tax relief, the rent tax credit, and the remote working tax relief.
And let's not forget the flat rate expenses scheme.
Of course. And then we touched on how powerful pension contributions can be, for reducing your taxes and building a nice retirement nest egg.
It's been a busy episode so far, but we're not quite finished yet. There's one more area we need to explore.
Oh, what haven't we covered?
Let's talk about what happens when you've been unemployed for part of the year.
Unemployment. I would have thought that if you're not working, you don't have to worry about taxes.
Well, it's not always that straightforward.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more about this unemployment and tax thing.
So the PAYE system here is designed to collect taxes throughout the year, assuming you're working the whole time.
Makes sense. But what if you're only employed for, say, 6 months out of the year?
Well, you might have overpaid taxes.
Overpaid. Even when you're not working.
It's pretty common, actually. The system doesn't automatically adjust for those periods of no income.
Ah, I see. So even though you're not earning a salary, you might still be able to get a tax rebate.
Exactly. And there are a few common situations where this might happen. For example, if you leave a job in the middle of the year, you can usually claim back any unused tax credits for the remaining months.
Right. That makes sense. What about if someone was on job seekers' payments during their unemployment? Does that affect things?
Well, job seekers' benefit is taxable, but job seekers' allowance isn't. But no matter which payment you are getting, you might still have some unused tax credits that could lead to a refund when you go back to work.
So even if you were receiving taxable unemployment benefits, there's still a chance you might be owed money.
Definitely worth checking.
This is amazing. I had no idea there were so many ways to get money back from overpaid taxes.
And there's another thing. Did you know you can actually backdate claims for up to 4 years?
4 years. Wow.
Hmm.
So even if you had periods of unemployment a while ago, you might still be able to get some of those taxes back.
It's never too late to check.
And of course, if you're not sure where to start, DublinLedgers can help you out.
They really know their stuff.
It seems like we've covered a lot today. We talked about all sorts of tax credits and reliefs, pension contributions, what happens with unemployment and taxes.
It's been a lot of information, that's for sure.
I feel like I've learned so much about how to save money on my taxes.
That's what we like to hear. And remember, knowledge is power, especially when it comes to your finances.
Wow, that was a lot of info. But hopefully it's got everyone thinking about potential savings.
Definitely. It's worth taking the time to figure out all these tax credits and reliefs.
For sure. And hey, remember, DublinLedgers can help you with all of it.
Absolutely.
They'll even do a free tax rebate review, no strings attached.
That's right. You can see what you might be owed, no obligation at all.
And with their no rebate, no fee policy, there's no risk.
Exactly. You only pay if they actually get you money back.
So basically a win-win. You get expert help and maybe a nice little bonus in your bank account.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Don't leave that money on the table. Go get those euros back.
Here's a thought. What if you used a tax refund to invest in something that could lower your taxes even more in the future?
Oh, that's a good idea. Like putting more into your pension, for example.
Exactly. You'd be saving for retirement and lowering your tax bill all at once.
Smart thinking. It's all about making smart money moves that benefit you now and down the road.
Well, folks, I think that wraps up our deep dive into the world of Irish tax rebates for PAYE employees.
Lots to think about.
Definitely feeling a bit more confident about my own taxes now.
That's great to hear.
Remember, everyone, when it comes to finances, knowledge is power.
Couldn't agree more.
Stay informed, stay proactive, and don't hesitate to reach out to the experts like DublinLedgers. They're there to help.
Absolutely. They've got your back. Happy tax saving, everyone.
And that's a wrap for today's show. See you next time.